Beautiful. Okay. No, I was going to ask.
All right, I'll go ahead and call to order our September 14th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting.
We'll start with the roll call. Chair Wilson.
Here.
Vice Chair Kurth.
Here.
Commissioner Huber.
Here.
Commissioner Porter.
Here.
Commissioner Dew.
Present.
Thank you.
Would you please rise for our invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Commissioner Porter and Commissioner Huber.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to assist our leaders in building a better community and providing opportunities for families for better lives. Lead us in truth and teach us by your wisdom. Amen. Flag of the United States of America.
All right, our first order of business is the approval of minutes from our August 10th, 2016 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dew, a second by Chair Wilson to approve the regular meeting minutes for the Planning Commission on August 10th, 2016. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes have been approved.
As a matter of housekeeping, if you wish to speak to any item before the Planning Commission night, if you'd please fill out a little white card and give it to the Secretary, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 1.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 1 is case PLN 16-14. It is a site plan to allow for the development of approximately 29,700 square feet of commercial buildings on approximately 5 acres of disturbed land. Also a tentative parcel map to allow for the creation of 4 parcels from a single parcel. A conditional use permit request for a master sign program allowing multiple freestanding signs, and a proposed mitigated negative declaration for the entire project. This is located west of and abutting Amargosa Road and south of Dunya Plaza. For For the record, there were some add-ons that I'd like to add to the record. There's a memo from staff that goes over a proposed site plan condition revision to condition number 25. It basically basically revises the road improvements along Amargosa Road. There's also revisions to the staff report. Staff unintentionally listed the Cocky Bull site as a 5-acre site. It's actually 2.42 gross acres, 1.91 net acres. There's also a sign comparison within that memo that goes over what's allowed by code and what the proposed signage is. In addition to that, there's also revised resolutions for the sign program that bolster the findings and supporting evidence. Another add-on is from our city manager, Doug Robertson, giving some background on the proposal. An agency letter from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, a standard letter from them with a response from staff. And also a support letter from a neighboring property owner, Hitesh Patel, for the project. The proposal requires an environmental assessment due to the size of the site. Staff's prepared an initial study with a negative declaration. It's complete and ready for the commission to act on it. The site plan includes 4 proposed buildings on site. The one that's displayed above you today is a multi-tenant building over 11,000 square feet. The developer does not have all of the plans for the remaining pads at this time, and staff has included a condition of approval that those would be handled administratively if the Planning Commission wishes to approve that. As far as the site, the tentative parcel map, it's 5 acres currently. The applicant's proposing a 4-lot subdivision. There's a possibility that that may actually be consolidated to 3 or 2, and that's allowed in the conditions of approval. Now onto the sign program. The requested signage deviates from code, and in reference to the add-on, it gives a breakdown of the comparison of what the code allows and what the applicant is requesting. But just to give some history, since the city incorporated, we've gone from more of a laissez-faire, hands-off approach to signage to more refined standards. It's been about 10 years since the code was changed to eliminate freestanding signage that goes above 6 feet in height when you're on a parcel less than 2 acres in size. To give some background, the purpose of that was some of the commercial corridors that we have within the city, such as Bear Valley Road or Palmdale Road, is some of the haphazard signage that we have along those corridors. So the code was changed to eliminate it, make it more uniform, and allow taller signage for larger parcels of land. The setting of the site, the Planning Commission may recall the 5-acre site was before you when the applicant requested that the billboards on site be moved further westerly to get out of the Amargosa right-of-way. To approve that, the council had to approve a variance because there was less separation than what the code allows. The code requires billboards to be separated by 1,000 feet. The variance allowed these billboards to stay approximately 400 to 500 feet apart and did not require the applicant to reduce the billboards by eliminating one. So we have these non-conforming billboards that are still on the site. The current proposal is very professionally designed, and it's only for the 5-acre parcel, and it's not all of Restaurant Row. So these signs the restaurant row that we currently know now may try to incorporate these in the future if they wish, but right now the proposal is only for this segment of restaurant row. The comparison that was handed out today goes through what's allowed if the property were to remain as one 5-acre parcel. So our code does allow just one 24-foot high sign. Now, the fact that the applicant is requesting a subdivision, they're allowed now to have some more monument signs. So the main difference in this proposal is the height of those monument signs. For those single pad buildings, our current code would limit the height of those signage to 6 feet in height. And as you could see in the graphic here, the request is to go up to 15 feet in height. The sign cabinet would go up to 14 feet in height. Now, staff's recommendation, we haven't heard other direction from the Planning Commission, so we have to rely on prior approvals and what our code currently states. And from our perspective, we thought, why would we allow additional signage that exceeds our code when the site's already impacted by billboards that don't currently meet our code? Also, the buildings on site are oriented close to Amargosa Road, which provides visibility from the freeway, and monument signs would allow for passerbys on like Amargosa Road to see the signage as they approach. We've made progress in our signage to this point. We just would warn that when we start allowing more permissive regulations on large signs, what happens is they tend to compete with one another, essentially negating the identification and advertising value of that sign. And collectively, this could lead to clutter, create a haphazard and unpleasant commercial setting. This could also set precedent for future approvals. Right now, we've been instructing developers that if you're under 2 acres in size, you need to maintain a monument sign no more than 6 feet in height. So if we start going more down this road of allowing deviations above that, we're going to go back to allowing some taller signs like we did in our prior developments. Again, though, the resolutions that were prepared give findings either way. So if the Planning Commission wishes to approve this or deny it, there's findings and supportive evidence on both ends. We're available for any questions if you have it.
Have you had a chance to look at the handout that we had here with some photos attached to it?
Yes.
Can you comment on the different heights for the crossroads?
Yeah, so
Each of those signs represent, just for reference.
Yeah, so I believe the client will also present to that. So we have the pictures in front of you are a 40-acre commercial development on the corner of 395 and Palmdale Road. There's various signage within that area. This Burger King sign that's displayed right now is actually not within that shopping center. It's across the road, and it's been there for some time. So this sign wasn't subject to our current sign regulations. But as far as the Crossroads Center, yes, they were allowed signs that deviate from code. We've approved larger shopping centers over 40 acres, and in this case, what was approved was large 40-foot pylon multi-tenant signs, one along Palmdale, one along 395, and then each of the tenants were allowed to have essentially a monument sign if they chose to, 6 feet in height. Now, the Cocky Bull site was allowed something slightly higher than that because its gross acreage was over 2 2 acres. So they essentially could have gone up to 24 feet. But in trying to keep them in line with what the shopping center looks like, most of those smaller pad tenants were held to a monument sign like you would see along here.
Those look to be like between 6 and 10 foot.
The monument signs that are within the Crossroads Center are 6 feet in height. The only one that goes to the 10 foot 10 inch is the Cocky Bull site, which is separate, but it's actually, you wouldn't know it. It's been designed to match the center.
All right. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 1. Anyone wishing to speak to this item?
Tom Robinson, Vantage One Real Estate. I'm the applicant. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you, staff, for working on this. To step back, like Scott did originally, in 2014, I came before some of you and told you about a project I was really excited about. I thought we had a tenant, BJ's Restaurant, and I was really excited because I wanted to continue Restaurant Row and saw the opportunity of extending that further. One of BJ's concerns was that they were at the end of Restaurant Row and the signage. And at the time, I had no opportunity to do additional signage because the sign that's on the corner of Denia Plaza Road and Armagosa, we were not in control of. The shopping center owner with the Walmart controlled that sign. And I came to you and asked you to approve the BJ's, which you did, and also allow me to let the Lamar company, who had the billboards, who are going to be in the right-of-way, move back so I can improve that road, which I'm still going to do. And it then went on to City Council, and they approved it. And they approved it because the benefit of doing the second phase and combining the overall Restaurant Row, which is really hard to find anywhere in the country, not just Southern California. It's really unique. And by extending that out, we've got good synergy right now, but with BJ's, it did really well. And with the additional tenants, it's going to do really well. And the type of tenants, as you can see with BJ's, to go back just a little also, we had a little hiccup in the BJ's deal. And I went in front of City Council, and I went in front of you and told you what my vision was. And my vision is to do a high-quality Restaurant Row. BJ's, 3 months after we were approved, approximately, we were getting ready to submit plans. They had their plans all done. I had all my plans done. I got the phone call from BJ's. Tom, we're pulling out of the deal. I'm just going, you can't do that. Yeah, we can. Read paragraph 16, 42, 59 or something. And I asked them why. He said, we've had an internal change of heart on California, and we're pulling 5 deals, so it wasn't just Victorville. And I said, well, this is going to be the best site for you. And they go, well, if you can wait around, maybe we'll change our internal, our board meetings are every month. I subsequently called them every week, and the head of real estate, the senior VP of real estate, and said, you've got to come back. Victorville, you're going to do so well here. And eventually, after 3 or 4 months, they said, Tom, don't bring this up anymore. So I waited 2 weeks to call him back. And ultimately, I get a phone call after I'd made my Monday phone call to them. They have a Tuesday morning meeting. And I got a call and said, Tom, you're not going to believe this. They're going to come back to California, and since you're ready to go with this and we're ready, they're going to go in Victorville, first site back in California in 3 years almost. I'm going, great, they should. So we worked with staff, got everything done and approved, everything locked up, and they're here. One of the things that when we were doing the deal with BJ's was on the second phase, they were really concerned at who I put in the second phase and the synergy, because they are at the end, and they want to see top quality restaurants next to them also, because it helps everyone. And we've got a good lineup all across Restaurant Row, and I think we can still improve on it. And we've got a couple great tenants that are first in the high desert, and we've got one that we have actually waiting to hear what happens tonight, and I'll tell you why. There's several I have to make phone calls to right after this meeting on the way home, and that's usually normal after Planning Commission or City Council, your tenants that are concerned on timing. And the reason they're so concerned on timing is the tenants I have are filling their hole for 2017 openings, and a lot of these are national Wall Street traded companies. So if there's any chance of their not filling that hole, they kick you off the team because they only have, I use team members, they only have 18 slots, certain tenants, or maybe they have 20. And if you can't fill that slot and they're not 100% sure you can fill it, they boot you and you go not to the back of the end of the line. They'll say, yeah, we'll do your deal in 2018. The problem with 2018 is that there's all new projects across the country. We're not competing with just Hesperia or Apple Valley. We're competing with Miami, New York, Dallas, Fresno, Portland, everywhere. So they then go, for 2018, they start looking at the deals, how they're going to fill those. And we're back in what I call the tryout, and to get your site on that team of 15 or 18. And you might not make it. There might be 18 other better sites that have come up. So the timing on this, and I think it was really poor. I've never seen a city manager give a letter in support of approving something before, and I appreciate Doug, and I know the reason he did it, because you've got a very proactive staff here and city manager's office, and what they do is they go to the ICSC, International Council of Shopping Center meetings, and they actually don't just sit there. These guys work, and they go out, and that's what I'm impressed with Doug, and Keith also, and Sophie. They go out and work the tenants, and they go and meet with the tenants, and they listen to what the tenants are saying. And over the last two meetings, the one in Vegas last May and the one that recently happened in San Diego, I wasn't in those meetings, but I have a feeling of what was said. And it wasn't just from the tenants looking here. They told Doug, listen, if we don't get this approved, you're done. We're moving on. We like Victorville. We love the site. We want to be here. But if we can't fill our 2017, we've got to move on and fill that hole, and then we're going somewhere else. And one of the most important things is great design for them and good co-tenancy. I'm going to get the great co-tenancy with these tenants. One of the tenants, which I think Doug mentioned, I can't because I have a confidentiality agreement signed with them, is going to be the first restaurant, and it's approximately 10,000 square feet, a little larger, the first one in California. And I pride myself on doing first-time deals in areas. I did the first Sprouts/Henry's in the Inland Empire from the ground up. I did the first Lowe's in California, and a smaller tenant was first Chick-fil-A drive-through in California. And those are the first deals to come in California. They scrutinize it, and they make sure everything's perfect. And with the tenants we're getting on Restaurant Row, one of the things I get a lot in marketing, and I'm marketing the higher level restaurants, I'm at the end of Restaurant Row. I'm way off Bear Valley. I'm at the end. I'm not at the front. And the visibility isn't great to Bear Valley. Well, the reason they should be going here is you've got a great population in the high desert. Victorville's a great place to do business. The Walmart's great. But we have the 15 freeway. And the 15 freeway has hundreds of thousands of cars on it. And so the signage to them is really important because they need that signage to the freeway. And I know everyone has signage on their buildings, and I'll address that a little bit more in a second. But the 9-foot higher 3 or 4 pylons that we're talking about that we need to have higher is for the visibility of the 15 freeway. And the 395 is a great highway, but it's basically 4 lanes. And if you put a 6-foot monument there, it's fine. You're going to be seen. It's visible. The speed of traffic's less, and it's appropriate. When you get to the 15, and you've got potentially, which you will when I improve it, you're going to have 4 lanes across Armagosa. You're going to have 6 lanes across Highway 15 or Freeway 15, and a median on each side in the middle. So you're talking a big distance. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but when an SUV, those are 6 feet tall. So if you have a 6-foot sign, if you have any cars in between you and that monument sign, 10 lanes away, you're not going to see it, and you're not going to see it from distance. And when you're driving on the freeway, you're not looking at that building sign until you're really parallel to it, so you don't see it coming. So the reason for the additional signage is not just to spend more money on signage, it's to have visibility to the 15 freeway. And it's really important that the tenants and the level of tenants and the quality tenants that I'm going for are sophisticated enough to look into that and really scrutinize these sites. The example that was given, the Cocky Bull, it's a net 1.91 acre site, and it was a typo. And my site, ultimately with the BJ's is approximately 2.33 acres also. So the master sign program goes over that, and I've got just under 1,000 square feet of frontage. And we can go back and flip back through the signage on the Crossroads Center. Okay, so, and I think that's good signage. It's not bad signage. It looks good. It's fun. But the monuments wouldn't work at this location. And I've also got another issue that affects this site. I've got 2 billboards that I don't control. I don't control the land under them. Lamar's agreed to move them back out of the right-of-way. But I don't own those. I don't get rent off those. And I can't move them even if I wanted to. The bottom of those signs are 24 feet tall, and I think that's 15 above that. So the way we've designed the signage also is I can't put a huge 65-foot or 70-foot sign like Walmart did out there, and I don't really like that for these tenants anyhow. We've put smaller monuments that are very effective individually. They're unified, they're spaced out, and I'll show you on, even though I don't dislike this signage here, Tessa, if you could flip back just a couple more. Okay, that's the Cocky Bull site, and it's about just under 11 feet. Are there any behind that? God, did you mess up my order?
Go the other way.
If you could go forward. Okay. That's one of the billboards, I believe. That's on the 395, and that's looking for the Cocky Bull site. And if you notice, you've got El Pollo Loco, AutoZone, Panda Express, McDonald's, Chevron. And then you see in the background, the Chevron also has about an 8-foot monument sign. And then if you flip to the next one, please. You can see the Cocky Bull monument and the pylon behind it. And the reason I show you that is you can see, I think those 2 signs are approximately 30 to 40 feet away from each other. The way we have our signage on this, and there's an exhibit in your package there. If you look at the south end of the property, the first sign is 100 feet away from the next one. The next one's 150 feet. The next one's 150 feet. Then 226 feet. So they're really well spaced out. And so when we talk about clutter, when we first came on the site, what I do is I bring my sign person out here, and we look at the site and we drive the whole trade area and look at what's appropriate for the site. I don't give them a budget. I say, design what's appropriate for sites for freestanding restaurants or whatever I'm doing. And that's what we did. And these signs, one of the comments in this was that, you know, the haphazard and clutter, these are all uniform. They're the same type of sign. And on the sign, which is really important to me and the tenants here, and I think it's going to help us in the long term and the short term, we have something on the bottom of the pylon. It's not going to be seen from the freeway because it's too small, but it's important when you come in on Armagosa. It says Restaurant Row in big letters, and it says Victorville. Restaurant Row, Victorville. And one of the things we're trying to do here is brand Restaurant Row. So if you're coming from LA or you're coming from east of Victorville and you're planning your trip, hey, let's stop at Restaurant Row in Victorville. They'll have every type of food there, and everybody knows it's Restaurant Row. They won't pass us for Barstow. They won't stop in Barstow because they'll know they'll be able, with their kid full of cars, get whatever they need here, and it'll be quick, safe, and it's a comfortable place to stop. And a great thing is you can go from the exit here, you can go left and go to Bear Valley, or you can go right and go to Main Street. So it's a really convenient site. On the comments in the staff report about clutter, I think we have the opposite of clutter here. I think it's uniform, spaced out, and there's a couple things that were put under Section 4, which I gave you a red line, and it's a Section 16322.17, and there's a few things that you can do. And one of them was abbreviated, and it says you can approve it if it contributes to an overall superior design, quality of the site, and the surrounding area will be superior to the quality that would result under regulations normally applicable to the site under this article. And if I'm minimized on the signage, I truly believe I'm not going to have the higher quality tenant here. They're just not going to come, and I'm not going to attract it. And I think this is quality, and I think it enhances the superior site this is, and it makes it better. If I have to stay with the 6-foot monuments, they're not going to be effective, and it's not going to be an adequate site.
I apologize. While we're talking about the signs, why are we doing the inclusion of BJ's?
What's that?
Why are we doing an inclusion for BJ's?
Because it's a master plan sign program, and when we did I did the deal with BJ's. I said I would attempt to get a sign for them when we did the master program for the overall site. Because part of getting BJ's to this site was the overall site was going to be developed Phase 1 and Phase 2. And they were well aware, and they've been involved with the whole time on the Phase 2 development with tenants. They have some exclusions that I can't do there, and BJ's has been really marvelous in marketing this site. It rarely happens, but they've been complete open book to tenants that call up and say, hey, we hear your sales are XYZ. Are they really XYZ? Because the developer's telling us that. And normally what happens with the developer, we over-exaggerate and all that stuff. And they would back up and actually give actual numbers to tenants. And they did that for a self-serving reason. They wanted to see high-quality tenants go to the south of them. Normally, you'll never see a tenant doing that. They were marvelous at that, and they were a big reason why we're on the cusp of having these other great tenants on the site. And on the site, the pylon that's on the north end of the BJ site, they have a right to be on that panel. It came with the property. They didn't even want to go on it. They threw that panel up, but knowing that they would have the opportunity for signage in the future. And I'm fine with that, and they're fine if you so choose to approve the master plan. You can put a condition that no tenants will be on that sign. That if BJ's ever went out, which I doubt they will, that tenant would not go on that sign and have another sign, and they're fine with that. One of the other comments on this staff is concerned, and I get it. I like staff. They've got to be concerned with all this stuff. I don't think this does set a precedence. This is a unique freeway site. It's Restaurant Row. It's unique. It says it's excessive and will set an uncharted precedent for future development. Well, I think if anything, it would set a precedent for great signage in the future. And the precedent, not every site, if you're on Bear Valley, you don't need a 9-foot higher sign for your pylon. A monument sign works. You just don't. And if you flip back to the signs, Crossroads, keep going, keep going, keep going, right there. If you notice AutoZone, and then there's also right behind that Panda Express, one more. Chevron also, and then somewhere in there. It's a little further down. There it is. Okay. If you go back to the pylon signs, so Panda has 5 signs on their building. They have the monument sign right there. And then they're on both 40-foot or so pylon signs. They have huge signs on that. So what I'm asking for, I'm not asking to do also a pylon sign. I'm asking for one single monument and their building signs. So when it says excessive, I think that signage is fine, but I think my signage of what I'm doing is less than what is out there. Oops. And I don't think that's bad signage. I'm not making any comment on it. And I think those signs are closer and not as spaced out. They don't have the luxury because there's multiple owners, and they don't have a master sign program for all the properties. There was another comment about safety and excessive distracting and otherwise unsafe signage. We all do this. We don't have to be experts. When a sign's too small and you're on the freeway or going somewhere and you have to really look for it, that's an unsafe condition. What we're doing is putting signs that are clearly visible to Amargosa and the freeway, and you're not straining to see them. On the Cocky Bull site, we're on our site, it was a comparison, but our site on the 5 acres, not including the BJ's 2 acres, we're about almost 3 times the size of the Cocky Bull, 2.7. With the BJ's included for the master program, comparable, we're about 3.8 times larger than that overall site. One other thing that everybody forgets too, which is going to be good. When I do the road expansion, there's 3 poles on that property right now, power poles, and there's a bunch of lines going across and across the freeway and to the billboards. All those come down. So you've got 3 poles that are coming down. We're clearing clutter off the site. That's going to happen regardless of if you approve the master sign program or not, to be fair. To summarize, I like talking about this project too because I get excited. We're doing a real quality project here. We're going to attract. I'm really excited. I wish I could tell you who the tenants were, but it's going to be a really high quality development. The community is going to love this, and we're really, staff struggling over an extra 9 feet of a sign. It's from the freeway. I think it's negligible. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. I think it's going to look great, and I know it's going to do something further than just building an addition to Restaurant Row. The hotel owner, I don't know what he put in his letter, but I think he's here today. He said he was going to come. It helps him build that hotel. He's flat out told me, this is helping me speed up my schedule to build that hotel. It's a huge amenity. It's great. I know from talking to the Peninsula developers who did the Staples and Michaels, they're working on the phase right next to Walmart. They are incredibly happy and pushing me to get going on this because it helps them. Every great tenant that they can say, hey, this is the first one in California. They're going right here. Everybody takes notice. It used to be like Starbucks 20 years ago when they did their location somewhere. Everybody would go, oh my gosh, Starbucks went there. We don't even have to do a demographic study. We know it's good. And doing quality tenants adds a lot of stuff. It helps. And the next tier of tenant coming into town, which will probably, unfortunately, I won't be able to take advantage of the next restaurants, will probably end up at the mall, and there'll even be higher tier restaurants. So I'm really excited. I'm here to answer any questions. I have my sign consultant here that's done so many great projects across Southern California. He can talk to you further. But I really hope you guys approve this, and it's going to be a great site, and I think everybody's going to be really happy once it's built.
Petitioner, if we were to, I've heard the comments from our staff. If we were to approve this, would you classify your argument to be extenuating circumstances?
Yes, I think this is a unique site, definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Anyone else wishing to speak to this item?
How you doing? Hitesh Patel. I'm the landowner north of this site. I'm here to show my support for this project because I think it will help our hotel with our future development in the next couple of months. There's going to be a lot of synergy now with all the new restaurants in the restaurant row. So I think you guys should approve it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the rest of the commissioners. My name is Milton Solomon. My company is Architectural Design and Signs, ADS, and we put this package together. Just at the outset, what I want to do is, first of all, Scott has been in touch with Tom and myself, and we've discussed this project. But what I wanted to do here was not only reiterate what Tom has said, but just to take you through the process of how and why we design certain things and come up with sizes. They're not just arbitrarily, just decisions we say, let's make this at 14, let's do this at 24, whatever the case is. We do it for a reason. And we start off with what is logical. And we look at, A, the surrounding areas, where this is going, who does it affect, and how it affects everybody. On this particular site, when I looked at it first with Tom, the first thing that comes into mind is that the freeway, there's no question about it. Everything is designed, the tenants who are coming in here, and what can be seen is everything is designed for the freeway. And we understand and know full well, I've been doing this for more years than I care to remember, and that is, we understand and know that there's a code. And the code is specific sometimes with regards to heights and sizes and things like that. But there is also a time when you look at something and say, what is right? And sometimes we could design a package for when it comes to putting down a set of laws for code, it doesn't always work for every single site that it's specifically designed for. And there are times when you have to think out of the box. So this is one time where we thought we have our limitations. We have to take into consideration, number one, the freeway. Number two, the existing billboards. And we have to be below that. So we can't do some big pylon and put 5 or 6, 7 or 8 tenants on them. We have our limits. And the limits come from the size of the sign that we want to be able to be visible from that freeway. So when you look at the 24-foot sign, of the 24-foot, 6-foot diameter is taken up with the Starbucks logo. So if you take 6 foot off that, we're at around 18 feet to the top of the one-tenant sign. And then we decide, okay, what size should we be? So we say in a 2-foot area, we can get possibly a 12-inch letter. And that 12-inch letter is about the limit. That's what's going to be seen comfortably from the freeway. Anything smaller than that, it honestly becomes a little bit of a waste of time. And what we did with that particular, Scott, to help with regards to the word clutter, is we limited the color of the background. So you see there'll be a dark gray, a lighter gray, a dark and a light, and so it goes on. And then the tenants will have their color on, they can have their colored letters on there. However, the background stays the same. With regards to the other tenants, that's for the single tenant, what we did is we have one tenant, and we put that at a 4-foot high, 14-foot wide. It's not because we want it to be a big sign. It's because the letters that you can put on there is just a comfortable, simple, easy to read. And I think that actually Tom said it right. When you say it sets a precedent, it does, but not the type of precedent I think that you're thinking of. It sets a precedent in the complete opposite way. I stood before a city council 2 years ago, and we had an issue over the size of signs. And I said to them, if you listen to the developer, I promise you that his standard of approval for the signs on this building will be far more stringent than it will be at staff level, because they look at it differently. You look at code, they look at design. And I said to them, I'll tell you what, if you approve what you're looking at in front of you, you will set a precedent, because that was the big word that they were so worried about. And the precedent that was set is that they won Shopping Center of the Year. And today, I promise you, they now tell whoever it is that's putting up signs or building a project, why don't you go and have a look at that particular center? Because we'd like it to look like that. The precedent that you're going to have here is standard size, and you talk about uncluttered. And this is something that you will, I promise you, Scott, you could look at me and I know you'd be a big smile, but I tell you, you will be able to say to people, go and have a look at that. And I want standard, that's the way I want to see my signs on your project. And that is having this kind of standard, having it a simple, easy design. And if you have a look at it, I think that's exactly what we tried so hard to achieve here. And I think that this is something that, for me, I'm very happy with. I'm very proud of the fact that you have this opportunity. And I hope that it's something that you approve. I think that it's the right thing to do. It'll work extremely well for the center.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Sullivan. Questions for Mr. Sullivan? Anyone else wishing to speak to agenda item number 1?
My name is Jesse Riemeyer. I'm the representative of BJ's Real Estate. We've been working with Tom on this project for a couple of years. I'll be short because it looks like a big agenda, a lot of people here, but we're really excited about what Tom's doing here. I know he can't mention the tenants that are coming to the project. I am aware, and I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. First, best in class in all categories, and I think the project is going to be stupendous. And we just want you to let you know we support the project.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to agenda item number 1? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close public comment. Give me just a moment. I have a question for our secretary. Excuse me just for a moment. Commissioner Dew had to excuse himself, so out of courtesy, we'll go ahead and give a moment for Mr. Borcher to come back into the room. All right, we are back. All right, so I'm bringing it back to the commission now. Are there any comments, questions?
I got some comments. I thought Tom brought up some. I've been on the Planning Commission a lot of years and dealt with signage for a lot of years, and I thought change signage, but it's also one big project. I think I'd love to see the project continue on. A lot of his comments, I thought it was a good presentation to the commission. Thank you.
Chairman, and that's kind of my sense too. You know, for my thoughts for the commission is, when I first saw the staff report, I took a look and read the beginning. I said, "Oh, there's an issue with signs." You know, and you read in the staff report, looking to see what hot buttons are. And I took a look, and when I saw the one that's on there, my first impression is I really liked that. I really liked how it was themed. Then I did notice they're 15 feet tall. I said, oh, okay, that might be the issue there. But, even before the applicants had, stated some of their thoughts and arguments on this, that was pretty much my feeling. I had written down some notes that said, heck, this is along the freeway. It's a multi-tenant sign program. They all look really uniform and modern and the same. I know there's an issue with, especially on the south side, that one billboard kind of blocking the buildings there. This might kind of set those restaurants apart from that a little bit more. Knowing that it is a sign program, my biggest fear would be that, future users, if they were individual pads or parcels, might come in and change those signs or, change colors, this and that. But it's a sign program, so it's going to stay uniform. I like that it's themed, and it makes sense. Also, the other thing, too, I noticed is the difference between these buildings on this proposal and the rest of the existing restaurant row area, like where Mimi's and Roadhouse and some of those. These don't have parking in front of the building between Amargosa and building. So that means it's going to be less clutter, less cars, all those different colors, less light pole standards, things like that. So I don't know. I have a feeling, driving north on the 15 freeway and seeing those flags all the way through there in those new buildings, I think that might look really special for Victorville.
When I asked about the extenuating circumstances, something that's taken into consideration. I think I have the impression that the petitioner has been working with the staff on several issues. I have no problem.
I'll make a motion to adopt the attached mitigated negative declaration with a mitigation monitoring and reporting program. Adopt resolution number P-16-024 approving the site plan portion of case number PLN 16-0014 subject to the attached conditions of approval and added addition number engineering condition number 25 with the new conditions. Adopt resolution number P-16-025 approving the conditional use permit portion of case number PLN 16-00014 subject to the attached conditions of approval and sign program condition option A. Is that the one I want?
Would it be the one that's in the addendum to the package as well, the resolution approving the sign program, which is P-16026?
Yes, the approving resolution that was in the add-on packet has more supporting evidence and findings for the approval.
Commissioner Huber, if you would just add that to your motion, then I think it covers everything.
All right, I'll add that to my motion.
Before we go from there, I have one quick question while that motion's on the floor. We talked about the added findings, I guess, in this revised resolution. I didn't see what those were. Do those cover anything to help with the setting of precedents, being that the findings that it's on the freeway, that it's a complete sign program?
Essentially, it noted that the billboards on site are special circumstances that would are somewhat of an impediment to development, and that the freeway, that a monument sign is not sufficient for freeway exposure.
Yeah, I'll second.
Yeah.
I'll make a second.
So a motion by Commissioner Huber, a second by Vice Chair Kurth, to approve item number 1, PLN 16-00014, using the draft resolution P16026 that was in the add-on packet. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That project has been approved.
Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item number 2.
I will switch gears here to industrial. Chairman, Commissioners, agenda item number 2, PLN 1615. It's a site plan to allow for a 200,000 square foot expansion to an existing 450,000 square foot Church and Dwight manufacturing and distribution facility. It's on 42 acres. It's a graded parcel, and it has a mitigated negative declaration. It's located at 17486 Nisqually Road within the Foxborough Industrial Park. As conditioned, the proposal meets all development code requirements. Therefore, staff supports approval of the proposed project. There are a couple add-ons that you received. They're both from state agencies, comments on the environmental. And the environmental consultant has also submitted a memo to address those. If there are any questions, staff's available.
Questions?
No questions.
I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 2. I have a card from the applicant, Tom Holshank, and I apologize if I butchered that.
Planning Commissioners, thank you, Michael, for putting our staff report together. I thought it might be kind of interesting just to provide a little bit of background on the site and who we are as the owner, because it's an interesting story, I think, for Victorville and the region. Space Center bought this land 15 years ago in 2001, and as you can see by the site plan, maybe if you could back up a little bit, we built the existing building up against Enterprise Way in Nisqually Road with the hopes of expanding it at some point in the future. And so here we are 15 years later as a long-term owner and what we consider to be a business partner in the city. We've worked with Sophie and Keith and obviously Michael here. And it's a really great story in the sense that Church and Dwight moved in early 2012. Church and Dwight, we all know them, Arm & Hammer, and some of the products they make. They made massive investment in the building, and it brought in a lot of new jobs to the region back in 2012. And the best news is, as we stand here 5 years later, and remember, that was kind of as the region was coming out of the Great Recession. So from our perspective, it was an amazing thing to have a great tenant like that coming in. And so we're very proud of that, and I think it's a good thing for the city as well. So now the good news is 5 years later, they're growing, and they made an inquiry about expanding the building on the east portion of the remaining property. And we think it's a really straightforward expansion, and we are here. We've got my development team here. We've got Church and Dwight, the tenant. We've got Hill Pinkert Architects. We've got David Evans and Associates, and we've got LSA to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to agenda item number 2? Great, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to agenda item number 2? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to adopt the attached mitigated negative declarations with the mitigation and monitoring and reporting program and adopt resolution number P-16-029, approving case number PLN 16-00015, subject to the attached conditions of approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Chair Wilson, a second by Commissioner Porter to approve this project as conditioned. PLN 16-00015. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That project has been approved.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 3.
Mr. Chairman, before we get going, I'd like to disclose that on both agenda items number 3 and number 4, these items are affiliated. My real estate company is affiliated with these two lease and development items, so I'm going to ask to recuse myself for both items. And I'll just state it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Item number 3 is PLN 16-17. It's a zone change from C2 General Commercial to C1 Neighborhood Service Commercial, and it's being located at 16424 Victor Street. Most of the Commission may remember in 2008, when we did the general plan update, we went through the zoning for the city. When we looked at commercial areas, the corridors along Bear Valley, Palmdale, everywhere. We tried to look everywhere through the city, and we did that because we wanted to see what we could do to get churches, assembly uses, clubs, charter schools. Those were the applications we were receiving a lot of at the time. So we went through the zoning map pretty thoroughly and found areas in the city that we could change to from C2 to C1. We didn't do 7th Street. We didn't do 7th Street intentionally because we weren't sure whether it was a good idea to change all of it, some of it, parts of it, corners. You know, we were looking throughout the city for large commercial corners on big intersections, if you remember, to make commercial corners and cores. And we did that. We were concerned that if we did large chunks of 7th Street, it might open up the rest of 7th Street to change. This property that we're talking about here might be the best example of why we should change the property. It has had a number of commercial investments done it through the years which continue to fail because it is not a good retail commercial property. It's not on the corner. It's not on it's not at the intersection for good visibility, all the things you just heard them talking about, you know, in item number 1. And therefore, while we didn't push a recommendation, because we were a little bit concerned about setting a precedent, over the years, this property has probably been one of the most troublesome ones for the property owner to get tenants in, and probably one of the best examples of a change to C1 that fit the building. That, like I said, we're not recommending. We're just leaving. Yeah, we're a little concerned about precedent, but like I said, if you look to set the findings of it's not on the corner, it's not good commercial, it's had a bad history. That will step out of it. Questions?
All right, I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 3. I do have one card. Timothy Times.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. My name is Timothy Times. I'm speaking on behalf of Agape Christian Worship Center, Victorville, California. Would the members of Agape please stand? You know, on behalf of all of us, from all of us, we would like to thank all of you for your time and consideration, and we will humbly ask for your support in this matter. Thank you.
I had a question for you.
Okay.
I saw there was some conditions in regards to parking and a reciprocal agreement with the neighboring property. Have you been able to secure that?
Yes, they've been able to come to an agreement for the parking.
Very good.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to agenda item number 3? And I'll go ahead and close public comment. Back to the Commission.
If there are no further questions, I would like to move that we find the zone change exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Find the conditional use permit categorically exempt to CEQA. Adopt resolution number P16031 recommending City Council approval of the zone change portion of case number PLN 16-00017, and adopt resolution number P16032 recommending City Council approval of the conditional use permit portion of case PLN 16-00017, subject to conditions of approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Porter, a second by Commissioner Dew, to recommend both sections, the zone change and the conditional use permit, to the City Council for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that project will move forward. The next available City Council date would be October 4th, would be the soonest to allow for public notice. And that is for PLN 16-00017 for the Christian Worship Center.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 4.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 4 is case PLN 16-19, a site plan to allow for the construction of an approximately 14,000 square foot multi-tenant office warehouse building on a 1-acre parcel with an environmental exemption located at the northwest corner of Tamarack Road and Park Avenue. The proposal meets all development codes. It's located within our industrial park district. The proposed building will front Tamarack Road with offices that front the street and warehouse roll-up doors in the back that face the alley. This is typical development for the IPD district, and it meets all development codes, and staff recommends approval.
Questions for staff? All right. I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 4. Anyone wishing to speak to agenda item number 4?
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner, City Official. My name is Ed Butrago. I'm the project manager, designer of the project, and I'm here tonight representing my client, Brent DeCohen. First of all, thank you very much for your time, consideration in reviewing the project. As you can see, the project, it's straightforward. It's and we're really eager, excited to work on this project, be part of the Victorville community, and be part of the local economy of the city. So I'll be around if you guys have any questions.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to agenda item number 4? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Yes, please.
I'll go ahead and move to approve resolution P16033, approving case number PLN 16-0019, and find the project categorically exempt under section 15332 of the California Environmental Quality Act.
I have a motion by Commissioner Porter, a second by Commissioner Dew, to approve PLN 16-00019. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That project has been approved.
And we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5.
Mr. Chairman, item number 5 is DEV 16-4. It is a number of code amendments to Title 7, 13, and 16. Most of them are just ones that we keep track of throughout the year and that we recommend changing, but there are some significant ones. Unfortunately, we did not give the City Attorney's Office time to adequately review them, find out whether they're even legal, so we need to ask for a continuance to October 19th after you open the public hearing and continue.
Any questions for staff? All right, I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 5. Anyone wishing to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission. And I will go ahead and make a motion to continue this item to our October 19th, 2016 meeting in order to have our city attorney review it.
Second.
So we have a motion by Chair Wilson to continue this item to the special meeting of the Planning Commission to be held October 19th in place of the October 12th meeting. I have a second by Commissioner Huber. All in favor?
October 19th?
October 19th. Any opposed? Thank you. That will be continued to October 19th.
Then move on to agenda item number 6.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. This is actually an item that I have prepared at the request of the City Council. The purpose of this item is to address the ongoing concern that after political elections within the community, there are numerous political signs all over the city, which are allowed consistent to the code as it's currently written. And the concern of the City Council was to try and craft an ordinance that would allow for the removal of those within a certain time, specified period of time after the election, to basically enhance the aesthetics and avoid sort of the cluttering and the effects of having signs littering the community. The difficulty in drafting this was that there has been a 2015 Supreme Court decision named Reed versus the town of Gilbert that has made it very, very difficult to, in any way, prepare sign ordinances that may in any way be other than content neutral. So what we've done is prepared an ordinance that essentially establishes an election period which commences 90 days before the election period and ends 10 days after the date of the election. And what this revision would do would give the city the ability then to cite people who do not remove their signs after the 10-day period after the election has expired. And again, that would be up to city code enforcement to the extent they wanted to do it. But basically what it does, at least gives you a tool to address the issue of signs that remain after the posting of the elections.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open up public comment in regards to agenda item number 6. Anyone wishing to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment.
Chairman, I'll go ahead and I'll make the motion and recommend to the City Council we find that the proposed code amendment is exempt from review under the CEQA and adopt Resolution P-16-027, recommending that the City Council enact an ordinance revising portions of Title 16, Chapters 1 and 3 of the City of Victorville Municipal Code relating to regulations of political and other temporary non-commercial signs substantially containing the text amendments set forth in Exhibit A attached here too.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Kurth, a second by Commissioner Porter, to recommend approval of DEV 16-00010 to the City Council for approval. The next available City Council meeting this will be prepared for will be October 4th, 2016. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That will be going to City Council October 4th.
Moving to agenda item number 7.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 7 is a continued item, case DEV 15-00008. We're requesting a 4th continuance of this proposed municipal code amendment with an environmental exemption to establish new development criteria for residential specific plans and plan unit developments. This is the 4th continuance request, and I believe it will be the last. We're still trying to finalize and incorporate the building industry's final comments, but we hope to have it before you on October 19th. We just recommend that you open the public hearing and continue this to that meeting.
Very good. Any questions? I'll go ahead and open up public comment for agenda item number 7. Anyone wishing to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment and make a recommendation to continue this item to the October 19th, 2016 Special Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Chair Wilson, a second by Commissioner Huber to continue this item to the special meeting of the Planning Commission to be held on October 19th, 2016. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That will be continued to the special meeting October 19th.
All right, in compliance with the Brown Act, it is necessary for the Planning Commission to make available time for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items of interest that fall within the Planning Commission's subject matter jurisdiction. Please limit the length of your comments to 3 minutes. I do have one card from Mr. Scott Hansen.
Chairman, Commissioners, just wanted to briefly speak to you guys about some of the things KB Home is doing in Victorville right now, and also request something of you, specifically a little bit of your time. Right now, we have one active community open, Las Haciendas Wildflower, which has seen a significant improvement in both its sales rates and pricing, which we're very happy to see in Victorville. But we still have 596 lots, I believe, left in Victorville that we would like to start building. 2 of our communities, one is the Las Haciendas job, has a tract 26944, which consists of 59 lots, and our remaining lots at the Saratoga project, which is tract 13908. Both of these are existing portions of existing communities, and when we were selecting our product, we really had a desire to continue some of our existing product into these areas. Unfortunately, with the change in the development standards, specifically section 16-308.020, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with, I'll help out, is the minimum dwelling unit area of 1,600 square feet. For those that have worked with KB in the past and approved some of our projects when Rudy was up here at the podium instead of myself, we have built 1,250 square foot, 1,400 square foot, 1,500 square foot product in Victorville very successfully, and it meets a market demand. That doesn't mean the community is that big. That means that's the one plan out of 5 or 6. We would like some time either at the next Planning Commission hearing, or perhaps in a workshop format, whichever is more convenient for the Commission, to kind of present what that really means. What does a 1,250 square foot home look like when you drive down the street? What does a 1,464 square foot floor plan look like when you drive down the street? Does it look any different? Does it make a detriment to the community? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? And we'd like to actually show you what we've done in the past in Victorville and other areas, because this is a key piece of our market. We are a first-time home builder. Our primary market is people who are buying their first home. Another big component of our market is people who have kids who have left the house and they're downsizing. These are the homes that they're buying. They're not buying a 3,000 square foot home. They don't need it. They don't want it, or they can't afford it. They're not buying a 2,000 square foot, maybe 2,500, depending on their specific circumstances. We would just like an opportunity to show you what we've done, what we can do, and potentially if there's a way that we can build one of these floor plans in that square footage range as part of a larger community that already has them in it. I would like your consideration for, again, some of your time at the next commission or in a workshop format if you're amenable. Thank you.
Yeah, Scott and I met and discussed the issue. It's relating to the code amendments that occurred about 1.5 years ago, where we the city planning commission and the city council raised the minimum dwelling size for single family from 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. KB Homes would like to incorporate in their overall plans a product that falls short of that. So they're requesting if you would consider it sometime at the next meeting to discuss that issue.
I would recommend also, I'd expand on that a little bit by saying that this came out of the strategic planning sessions that the city council had, and the goals that were represented with higher value residential specifically speaking to that. Right after that, that's when we changed the code to raise the square footage of the house to increase the value of the homes. So you might want to speak with your council members and thoughts.
To that point is specifically what we're looking for here is in the communities that we already have, that we've already built these size homes in, not necessarily on a brand new community or a brand new subdivision. These are ones where in the case of Las Haciendas is close to 500 lots. We've got approximately, I believe, 120, 126 left, and it already has these homes in it. As we come in with new product submittals for the remaining lots, we'd like to have at least the option in these very, very specific cases to continue using product that's already in our communities.
So just in reference to those two tracks that you...
Correct.
What was the square footages of the houses that you had in those subdivisions?
They range obviously quite a bit, but in the case of both Las Haciendas and Saratoga, which they have all their marketing names as well, I apologize if you don't recognize them, 1,250 is the home which we've also successfully used in the city of Eastvale. We've used it in Riverside County. We've used it in Palmdale, Lancaster. We've used it in the Low Desert, Coachella, Indio. Again, we target that particular plan specifically to either a move-down buyer who's looking, maybe a older couple or a first-time family where they don't have kids yet. That's kind of that house's target market. In my own community that I live in Temecula, my neighbor's a 1,500 square foot house, very similar situation. They just don't have kids, they don't have a large family, and they didn't want a large home. So we're just trying to make sure that in our existing communities, I can meet what the market's telling me it wants.
Their proposal, if the baby's mentioning guys on the next meeting.
Yes.
Appreciate your guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment? Now I'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to agenda item number 8.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson. Item number 8 is a 3-year compliance report for case PLN 13-00009. It was for a conditional use permit that permitted the San Bernardino County Probation Department to open a day reporting center located at 15480. There was an add-on to the agenda which gave a call log of the reports that have occurred since the probation division has occupied the building since October of 2014. There's really not any major incidents to report as seen in the list, and we're available if you have any questions.
Thank you for following up on that.
Thank you. And did you say that was 3 years? Already?
Yeah.
I know, gosh.
Wow. Once a month. Thank you. We don't need to take any action just for informational purposes. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Presentation of reports by commission members. Commissioner Porter?
I happened to notice that we had an article in the paper about a mental health crisis center being approved by staff at the same location where we denied another county facility. And I was wondering why we weren't involved in that process.
Yeah, there's some history to this. The county has the right, if they purchase a property, to preempt local authority. So this property was purchased by the county. They sent us a letter stating that they're preempting local authority, and were able to move forward without us. Now, the article made it seem that staff kind of reviewed and approved the design. That wasn't the case. Our review was limited to the street improvements and fire access to the site only. So Andre may be able to chime in a little bit more, but there's some state code that essentially allows the counties to be a division of the state with that authority to place a facility of their choice where they want.
Is that only if they purchase the property?
Yes, it has to be county-owned property. The school districts have the same option. They basically can exempt municipal zoning ordinances and follow their own code. And so, but it has to be on property that they own.
That was very sneaky of them to do that.
Well, and it starts with a.
Address that we had, the offender one?
Yes.
The same exact address.
It's a vacant lot behind.
It's not a vacant lot, so it's going to be a development.
Yes.
So that's going to have to come through. Development plans.
They follow their own code.
Oh, they just do it within the code.
Yes.
Like Scott said, we did get a site plan. We did make them go. We did ask them to go through our site plan process so that we could give them the conditions that we would give a typical project, so that they can hook up to our sewer, use our streets, things like that. But it's up to them to even follow that, basically.
Right. Out of courtesy, usually counties and/or school districts would typically consult with the cities, in sort of a harmonious type relationship to do this, but they're not bound by the statutes to do it, unfortunately.
And we were proactively trying to force them to come through our normal process, come to the public hearing and have the planning commission act on it, up until they issued us a letter from the county that they are acknowledging that they're going to be the lead agency and preempt local authority.
It does not necessarily prevent, though, challenges on environmental grounds on projects. But
In a related note, if you remember, they start with a letter to the city saying that we're going to buy this property. Do you have any comments? And telling us what they're going to use it for. It meets the zone district in that a facility of that type meets the zone district for multifamily. So it's not like we could write them back in opposition. If you remember, they wrote us a letter behind Bear Valley Road and said we're going to build our auto fleet maintenance facility back there, and we said no, whoa, that's commercial zone property, you can't do that. They actually worked on the parcels that we recommended through the planning commission after they came here, and they have now purchased one of those properties that is behind, in the bad commercial. We still have to work out the zone change and things like that. They have purchased the right property now to do that, so it is a process.
Chairman, I have a question. According to this article, when I first read it, there's an indication that they will not be treating any sex offenders. My question to the city attorney, what if they were to have a change of heart and say they care to? That's something we were opposed to, specifically because of the domestic violence shelter.
yeah, off the top of my head, I'd have to look at the location and determine whether or not you'd have an opportunity to oppose that, based on basically what the state statutes regarding that are at this point. I'd have to do more research, and I'd get back to you on that.
Since I came up with the commission, in my real estate business, I did have at a, I believe it's the same county user because it was a large-scale behavioral health operation looking reps on a location to see if and that wasn't going to work, and they kind of went away, and then we heard through the grapevine that they were just going to build. What I've learned, it's just the behavioral health. It's the center, which is
Substance abuse.
which is highly needed here. Fighting to try to get that here. Clinic on Bear Valley Road department has changed their ways. Never comfortable, but
I have a one comment. Way back when we were talking about signs on windows and things, and we were cleaning up some things, there was some discussion, or I brought it up, about the banners on used car lots. Because I think that there's a totally different standard from used car lots and new car lots. New car dealers have all kinds of signage. They don't need it. Anyway, it never was brought up, and this person happened to get a citation on banners. Can we comment on that, or
I can give you a little bit. I had hoped to have the sign modifications in with the other amendments. We have not had time staff-wise to put that together. Yes, in terms of the windows, in terms of the used car dealers, we didn't have time to make it into these amendments, and that's another significant change. I spoke to the owner of that property on his code enforcement case and asked him to take them down because they are illegal. We were working on it through the commission. However, because I wasn't able to make the program, I told him that I need to start code enforcement and have you take them down. He seemed fine on the phone, and then he didn't do it, so I'm not sure.
well, he don't want to unless he absolutely have to.
I understand.
So, until gets a real citation, I don't think he's going to take him down, because it's a big item down there. I mean, he's so close to not being in business no more that any distraction from his business, he's gone. It's that bad. The used car business is that bad. So,
I was just going to comment that I thought that the signage that we approved of tonight was so much better than what you see on Palmdale Road. You can't even tell what's on there because they're so, they're all different heights. They're in every different location. They're just scattered. It's just a mess. I know we'll never, in our lifetime, we won't be able to do anything.
I was going to try continuing this item with the signage, because I was really up in arms about that, whether we should do something or not. But it's so uniform, and because I don't like to change signage. We worked hard and long on signage.
I know.
I've been at that for a lot of years.
But the freeway does make a big difference because you can't see signs as well.
I've always been typically because of the sign blight on
Still don't like the billboard.
No, that's going to be awful.
I thought Larry was going to ask for a demonstration sign.
Commissioner Dew? Only thing I have is I noticed it yesterday when I was coming from Costco. Seems to be a nice little homeless encampment starting up behind Dewey Pest Control right there. Not sure what the street name is. It's looks to be about a 12 by 15 area that's cardboarded up. Has it? Yeah. It is literally right behind Dewey Pest Control.
Okay.
Just in case, because it's been there for a little while. It's lived in. So. All right. So I'll go ahead and.
Before you close the hearing, I forgot to bring this up in the workshop. Tess has been contacting you about an upcoming Old Town workshop for a new specific plan, and The 26th that they were originally trying to reserve, I guess Wednesdays won't work. They're wanting to know if a Thursday would work. They're available on the October 27th if you want to have a workshop down in Old Town. The other question
Check,
is
and then
if
I'll
you
get
want to have the workshops down
calendars and
there.
get with Tessa tomorrow.
They propose a daytime or an evening, or did they?
It's pretty much open. Our thought was
Late at night?
we'd get more public involvement if it was in the evening. Our thought was 5 o'clock, but if you want to have it earlier in the day, we could do that as well.
I'll look at my calendar. I'll give Tess a call.
Okay. All right, we'll have.
Flexible for that day. Yeah, just
Okay, we'll have Tessa follow up. Thanks.
Hour and a half. It's good. All right, we'll go ahead and close to our September 14th.
Special meeting.
October.
Yes.